What's up, guys? Hyperion, Hype Sounds for you today. I'm going to show you guys how to do some mixing in the stereo domain. Real quick, check out this track in the link in the description below, along with a ton of free downloads if you're so inclined. So what today I want to talk about is mixing stereo. So one thing I found to be tremendously helpful in thinking about the stereo image is that while we perceive a mono signal as being equal in both the left and right channels and being phase coherent, meaning the amplitudes, positive or negative, arrive at the same phase or pretty much in sync with one another. So we perceive it as the sound coming straight from the middle, while on a stereo image, we perceive sound as being spatialized from different sides as being like a phase delay. So that being said, we can try to recreate that and artificially pan our sounds with this rack I made called the Haas effect rack. I didn't invent the effect. It's called a Haas effect. It's a psychoacoustic effect. It'll bring a lot of depth into your mixing if you check that out. But I just made this rack for it called the Haas effect rack. You can download it in the description. But so what it does is I have created two chains. Okay. Left and right. I've hard panned either one, and you can control that with these macros. And on one, it's just the left chain. There's no effects. And one, there's a linked simple delay. So I just have a timed delay of 14.5 milliseconds. And let me just demo this track or this effect on and off for you real quick. So basically, I was putting it on my Flumi Saw sound, and it sounded kind of glued it in the mix a lot better. So first off, let me solo the track, and then I'll play with the rest of the mix. See how you can hear that it opens up a lot of room in the middle for the vocal to come through, but still maintains the width and the presence in the mix. So here it is, kind of moving on and off. And real quick, guys, this is really important for this kind of tutorial. If you're listening to this on a good monitoring system, like studio monitors or even a good studio headphones, I'm using the Audio-Technica M50s for a long time. They've been fantastic. This is going to sound really great, but if you're listening on a laptop, you won't be able to hear any intelligible difference between this effect being on or off. So here it is again in context with the rest of the mix. Obviously, it's a little louder, so let me compensate for that real quick. And you can kind of see that it's coming from like a wider perspective. It leaves more room for the vocal right down the middle, creates a stereo separation between instruments we really like. And real quick, the gain is equal to the gain before when it's at -6, because when you double or half the volume of a sound, we actually have logarithmic hearing as people. So -6 dB corresponds to a factor of 2 times the volume of the sound. So when I double the track and I take the total volume of each down by 6 dB, it'll come back to 0 dB or like unity gain. Anyway, so we want to create this Haas effect rack, right? So at the very end of our track, let's go into some audio effects, and we will grab a simple delay, throw that on in there, and then we want to right click and group it. And so then we have our audio effect rack. One has a simple delay, we want time, and we want a link. So it means both have the same time, left and your right, but the way we do it is we pan it all the way to one side. I chose right this time. Doesn't really matter. And I'll pan the other one all the way to the left, and then take each down about -6 dB, which will mean we'll have unity gain. So between this track being on and off, they'll be of equal volume. So obviously if you just throw two tracks in there and pan it and do all that crazy shit, but then just have it be way louder, obviously you're going to perceive it as being, oh wow, it really stands out in the mix, even though, you're not really doing anything that clever. You could throw a ton of shit into it and be like, oh, it's louder, sounds better. So, obviously you want to play around with this, but that's basically the effect track, without all the fancy bells and whistles here with these macros as I've assigned over here. To do so, you can click map and then, click on any one of your various parameters. Let's say I wanted to modulate the panning of this center channel, I suppose. I'd click on this thing and then I'd click over here and map, and then I have this chain thing, and you can change the values that it's permitted to. Your range up here, I chose negative 6 dB and 0 dB between the gain volumes here. If you just have them as both be 0, it can kind of overload pretty quickly. Let's see. And then as well, my favorite thing to modulate was actually the delay. You can see over here, my delay, I have it at 14.5. I really like it there at 14.5. I like it between 7 milliseconds or so. And once you get up into the mid 20s, I think that gets a little high. I think 12 is really nice. Just creates a really good atmosphere for the sound. So obviously over here we can have 100, which is a ton. Once it gets past, a quarter second or even 30 or so milliseconds, you really start to perceive it as being a different sound altogether rather than being a wider sound. You consider it as being a delay. So I like from 8 ms to 22, but if you're just gonna create a patch and save it, I would put it on 12.7, 12.4 seems to be my preference lately. Doesn't matter a whole lot, but it's kind of up to you. So let me kind of show you guys the effect that this can have on the master. So here we are back, soloed our Flumi Saw patch. And if you remember, I had the pan volume up a bit because that's how it's set in the mix. And let's check out the stereo image of our master. So I have here, real quick, when you want to be doing these sounds, you want to be careful that you don't go overboard with it. As soon as I figured this out, I was like, oh, stereo everything, make everything stereo. But what happens when you phase delay one of the tracks is that sometimes you won't have the most phase coherence with the other track. So you get a lot of weird phasing issues. So it can totally cancel out each other out when you sum it to mono. So you definitely want to check your mono compatibility when you're working with these stereo things. To do so, you can just grab a utility and take the width all the way down to 0. That's a good way of checking the mono in your mix. But I also have a plugin here called this BX Solo. It'll sum everything to mono. So you just want to check out, make sure it still comes through in the mix. You're not just totally getting phase cancellation. So not too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. So I think I just clipped right there in my tutorial. Not too bad. So let's check out the stereo image of our instrument. Very wide. Very wide. This is just a really simple ozone mastering suite, whatever I have dropped on here. This is a vector scope. So this shows that my vocal right now, this recording I'm talking to you, is coming completely mono right down the center, has no stereo image to it at all. So that's good, right? That's kind of how you want your vocals to be panned, is pretty central. Sometimes it's nice to give them a little breath, a little oral excitation, have it come through a little wider, have maybe a little stereo delayed reverb, something like that. But this is our Flumi track as is with the device on. And here it is with it off. So it's a night and day difference, guys. I hope this adds another tool to your, your repertoire of mix techniques. I hope it brings you some really cool, interesting effects, and it creates a little rabbit hole. Go check out the Haas effect. Some pretty cool stuff. But I hope the takeaway is big. This is a big technique. Don't go too overboard with it. And if you liked the let's see, the effect rack I have. You can download this effect rack with, a ton of other effect racks. I got these hype chains, all in the link in the description below. Check out this song in my SoundCloud, and hope you guys learned something. Hype Sounds out.